democracy. But when people can't talk, then even in like my American family is dysfunctional in the same way that the national government is dysfunctional. They won't talk about issues of corruption inside the family. And when that happens, then there's violence or people leave the group. I mean, that's just obvious. That's just logical what happens when you don't have conversation. And so that's the problem with the Ukrainian war. It's the problem with all wars. It's the problem with January 6th. It's the problem with the truckers. I mean, that's why we need more people talking. That's why we need to have journalists, and if not journalists, then guerrilla journalists, us, who engage politicians in long form conversations
Well, the only
and
thing I
make them make
have to
sense.
back up what I say is my personal experience and what I put on for you to see with your own eyes.
Mhm.
I identify who I identify as, and I talk to people that don't believe in me. And then when we talk about the issues, it's amazing how we agree. So I don't really think labels matter so much as long as we talk like you guys both advocate for. And I think when we're able to do that, we're going to be able to build a strategy that's more effective to address all these systematic issues. I mean, labels, like you say, shouldn't matter. So let's make that happen. I mean, label
yeah.
yourself Captain Underpants. I don't care, but you're going to be someone that's against poverty. And it doesn't really matter because we're going to be unified against the issues. But at the same time, I just like to label a demographic to just find out how we could identify problems. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to put that.
I mean,
Like,
these
if you have
kinds
to have
of
surgery, you have to
conversations.
label a part of the body to know what to
I
attack.
think it's
Yeah,
because
then you have
you're
to do it. You have to do it accurately. That's the issue.
well, and I think because you're wanting in terms of you're wanting to put a political spectrum label as like an inherently attached to a given problem when it's not true. All of the humans are human problems that happen across the spectrum. You have to diagnose the specific problem in the specific area where it's occurring.
I agree. But when you have to have an approach for a solution, you either go with, I mean, that's the thing is like if you're for more government or if you're
I would
for,
say under normal circumstances or circumstances even predating today, labels are not inherently bad, but I think the way that we've weaponized
that's the kind
against
of
them,
culture I want to make. And I want to go ahead and fight against that. Labels
Yeah,
aren't
but
bad, but
right
they're
now
essential
is-
to understand. So,
but right now is the time where we need to get away from it and focus on ideas because the labels have been weaponized.
well, how are you going to identify the ideas? You can't just say I'm for building
My
houses.
my
Well,
idea is to
certain labels
repair
have been
infrastructure.
weaponized.
My idea is to address poverty in rural areas. My idea
I think that would be a
is-
good way to talk about it, but how are you going to address poverty in California? You're going to be seen as a socialist by
exactly
people that are in
Like,
Texas.
the poverty in California has
So you just got to embrace
some
that
unique-
level and double down and say, yes,
some
this is the
unique-
right way to go because it's going to help California and it's going to help rural communities in Texas
Well,
too.
so first of all, they're separate solutions, right? Texas or Arkansas needs to deal with their rural issues, and if they need help from the federal government, then that's something to discuss. But you got to go in with a plan. For example, California has its own unique poverty-causing conditions that are going to have a whole different set of solutions that California needs to figure out. And then if we need some assistance from the federal government in terms of funding or something like that.
Yeah, you need to fund the other states to help them keep their citizens from going to California.
To have. Well, it's not, I mean, it's not on the face of it's not necessarily that. What you might need initially is to invest in some kind of sustainable industry in rural areas, and they maybe need to be a little.
You know what? We need some
rural.
guerrilla reporting. Go interview the homeless and ask where they're from, and then put that on the web and say, hey, look, so-and-so state, look, so-and-so state. You always say this is California's problem, but this is part of you too.
I wonder. Yeah, I'm really wondering. Like, I mean, the first step, conversations like this are very helpful, but like, what are the actions that we're going to take that will actually cause change? That's what. And I mean, that's where my thoughts always are, because my political activity is basically 5% of my
Sure.
of my
Okay.
days. So it has to be effective in a way where I see changes, and the way I just talk with people.
Mitigating costs that should be like you're right, like healthcare would be something that would probably help people stay where they're at because that's one less expense. Mitigating costs for like perhaps education, because I'm pretty sure college students, they just become poor and they probably go to California too. I mean, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
mitigating, I'm sorry,
yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead.
but mitigating costs. I mean, that means that you have to change laws, and that means that you have to
Yeah,
get your
that's where I'm getting at now.
somebody
So
get
when you look
somebody
at a
to
politician that's going
do
to be
that.
running for it, you're going to have to be able to, as a person that supports them, be able to build an argument for them. You're going to be labeled whether you like it or not.
I'm sure I'll be labeled, but I think the challenge is to always speak outside of labels that give people an idea of what you are that you're not. I mean, it's quite difficult in a conversation like online when
Can
you're
I
just
be honest
all of
with
a
a
sudden
pattern that I
called.
notice with people that are probably more Republican? Labels always seem to bother y'all guys. It doesn't bother me that much. And it's perhaps because,
But I'm not a Republican. I mean,
well, I mean, you still follow the pattern. Like every time there's like a new thing that's not something used to for you to see, like if Disney's going to put a new, like a black Superman, oh, that's they're just pandering to this minority. Or if they're going to celebrate a new holiday, oh, they're just catering to this. I'm not saying it really affects me or makes me like have my SJW, but it's a pattern that I notice. And I'm just like very curious about like, why do labels matter to certain demographics? And it's usually more people that are right leaning. They're not as inclusive for like people that identify
Really?
themselves as, yeah, yes.
Use the wrong pronouns on somebody and tell me who gets
That's
more
not on
upset
anything
about the
that's on
label.
legislation. There's
exactly,
no
exactly.
laws that's going to punish you for
Yeah,
using the
I,
wrong
I,
pronouns. But
There
the
are in
Republic,
Canada.
there are. I
it's
mean,
not
you
Canada. I'm talking about the, okay, see
And
how y'all
also,
guys want
first
to
of all, they're
pivot?
no.
going for that here. And second of all, that absolutely could be like someone could file an HR complaint for that.
Right. There
Well,
was a
because you're
philosophy
harassing them.
professor.
I mean, that's harassment. If you're going to be somebody, I mean, if you want to call somebody and they say, hey, please don't call me that. And then you just keep on doing that, you just want permission to be an a-hole. I'm not saying that you
Well,
should
what
be
if
arrested.
though you have a heartfelt belief that, the fact that somebody identifies as a gender different than their biology is not valid?
I have a
You're
heartfelt
not
belief
allowed
not
to
being
have
an,
that belief?
Well,
you can
I
have
mean,
that belief.
I
Yeah.
have a strong belief that I don't want anybody's speech coerced, and that's what they're doing. So, I mean, if I feel that somebody is
See, that's what
in,
it's like you guys don't like labels. And you're proving it
it's
for
not
me
labeled.
right
No,
now. It's just like,
No, I don't
it's not
like people
labels. It's
forcing stuff. That's a different issue.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I
well, you
mean,
don't have
that
to talk
it's
to
not
that
about labels.
person. You don't, I mean, what makes you
What
think you
I
have
No,
to
what
go
I'm
to?
saying is
if
like
you're a
you're
professor and he's in your
misaligned.
class, you have to talk to him.
You've
Okay, so,
misattributed. Look, hold on. There are
okay, go ahead.
so many labels on the left. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
Okay. There's like there's the pronouns thing right now. There's the
Sure.
LGBT, and then it changed to LGBTQ, and then it became LGBTQ plus, and then it became
And why do you think
LGBTQIA
why do you
plus,
think that's
and
happening,
then
James?
and then there's black, and then there's people of color, and then there's indigenous people, and so
And
they
black
came
and
up with
brown.
BIPOC. Are you kidding me?
But why do you think that's happening? I mean, I'm just curious.
Why
Because
would they
people
do
like
it?
to manipulate other people. That's basically
Correct. It
what
puts
humans
them in a
do.
box, and as soon as any of those people step out of line, they call them some kind of like a race traitor, or usually
No,
like
and
a
the thing
racist
is, I
version
think
of
that's
that.
wrong of them to call you racist or bigot. I do think that they should educate people because the what I think, it's not me being
But
an SJW person. Let's get that
forget
straight.
all that for a second. The only thing that I'm pointing out by pointing those examples out is that it happens on the right and the left. Both of them might have an
Exactly.
issue with labels in one way or
Now
the
let's
other.
be
Well,
specific about the
it
LGBTQ community. The one is, it used to be taboo. People used to get disowned by family. People were not given the right to marry who they wanted to. They're becoming more accepted. So it's a nuance vibe that they're feeling. And yeah, there's some of them that are bad
Right.
advocates, and they should
But
probably be a little bit more understanding that other
but now
people
they're
don't.
all equal under the law. They're all protected and
That's
codified.
not true.
Yeah,
That's
they
not true
are.
at all. There's a lot of,
100%.
no, that's, no, it's not.
100%.
There's
They can
people
buy
that are,
homes, run for office, get married.
There's
change their
legislation
identity.
that are trying to regressive tactics to get rid of gay marriage. There's a lot. I mean,
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
not
I
a
mean,
big advocate for this. I mean, I know about it. I'm surprised that you don't know about it. I mean, there's a
Where are
lot
they
of
trying to get rid of gay marriage?
the Republicans are trying because
aren't they doing that?
they have
They're doing
Supreme
that.
Court justices that are trying to. First, it was women's rights, and then they were trying to get rid of
All right,
uh, uh,
so
uh,
abortion is not a woman's right. Okay, that's killing a baby is not a woman's
it's
right.
okay. This is a
Yeah, well, you would
fetus,
have to
not a
define.
baby.
You would have to
There's a
define it.
fetus and a baby. James, do you see the difference?
It's
Do
it's
you?
the same thing.
No, it's
It's the
not.
same
If it
thing.
was the same thing, how come you don't get tax incentives for having a fetus? How come they give you tax incentives for having a baby? It's not the same thing under
Because
the
you don't have
law.
the increase in cost yet.
A woman has an
Because
increase
it's
in cost.
inside
She
your
can't
body.
work.
You have
She has
medical
to
stuff.
stay. I mean, I don't know. I think
Yeah,
Edward might
it's
disagree with
just.
you
I mean,
there.
abortion is a balancing of rights, and a conscious adult human being has more rights than a being that is not even conscious yet, that wouldn't even feel any pain if it were removed
The
at a certain age of it, then it
a
does
lot
feel
of the
pain. You have to
abortions
define that.
that they're performing are when those babes absolutely would be feeling pain.
Yeah, well, that's wrong. I mean,
But that's when the
it's wrong to
woman's
kill
life's
somebody who
at
feels pain.
danger.
No, that's not when the woman's life's at danger. That's when it's inconvenient for her to keep going.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
like the majority of abortions.
Let's think about a scenario. If a woman waits for the third trimester, it's more than likely she wants to have the baby. Why would you wait till that long? I'm not saying there's a
I don't
percentage
know
that
why they
exists.
do. I
I'm
just
not
know
saying
it
there's a percentage.
happens.
Well, I'm sure it happens. It's a smaller percentage, but the longer you wait, you're probably entertaining the fact that you're going to want to have a kid.
yeah. I mean,
No,
it
some
should be
people are
rare
just
and
like,
rare
Yeah,
and
I
safe.
agree.
Yeah.
Rare and safe.
yeah,
Yeah,
some
rare
people
and
are
safe.
just like paralytically indecisive.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't have any experience with that. I mean, maybe you know some people, but I personally don't know anybody that's like, yes, I want that right to destroy the fetus. I don't know anyone like that.
You're not watching the activists who are advocating for exactly that, who are like, I got many abortions, that are trying to pass legislation that for basically no reason whatsoever, you can abort a baby up to birth, which is what they can do in, by the way, in California.
Well, that's
Yeah.
makes sense if the
Jeez.
woman's life's at danger.
But
But-
that's not what it's based on. It's not on if a
Yeah.
woman's life's in danger. It's because she just, nah.
But I don't think a woman would feel like, meh, when it's
You
that
would
close to
think,
having
but they
birth.
do.
Yeah, again, I'm sure there's some cringe cases that happens. I'm sure. But the majority, I feel like if it came to that part of their pregnancy,
But see, that's the thing.
And
All
I
you
mean-
have to do is write the legislation to be like abortion after, I don't know, 8 weeks has to be a life-saving event.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one
they
can
don't
agree
want that.
on these. Yeah, yeah. But I mean,
They-
one
they
can
want it
with
For any
in
reason.
yeah, in debate and responsible lawmaking, you can get to
yeah.
an
I
agreement
mean, the thing
of
is, I definitely don't want to
ages and that
normalize,
kind of thing.
people just being nonchalant about that. Of course, I agree with you, James. I mean, there's like a moral issue with people just being too like, hey, let's just irresponsible behavior. Same thing like with guns. It's irresponsible behavior or not being able to handle a firearm correctly. It's irresponsible behavior for just doing, what you do and carrying something inside you. But at the same time, I think a lot of Republican politicians have distorted some of the stories they tell too, because they say they want to have abortions after the baby's born. That's murder. That's not an abortion anymore.
Yeah,
So
but
it's just
no, there
like,
are people that have advocated for they call it post-birth abortion.
yeah, that's murder.
I know.
It's
It's
a human
horrible.
life. That's a stupid argument to me.
I
It's already
know, but
against the
they're-
law.
They're making it.
And what you want also to accompany this is like, kindergarten, send families money who have children so that people have less incentive to
Yeah, and that's what
abort.
I think the reason is. It's a
And
financial
if you
burden.
care for humans, for human life, then you care to save a fetus and you care to give this person
Well,
a
And
fair
and
chance in life.
that's the thing. Like WIC exists, child tax credits exist. We actually do have a decent amount of support.
Not in all the states though, James. That's the issue.
You don't have WIC nationally?
Not,
Isn't
I
WIC a
said not
national
all of
program?
those. And yeah,
What
that
is that,
is.
Wick? I don't
WIC,
know.
it's to help with food like
WIC is women
cheese,
and
milk.
children. It's
Okay.
to help women with young babies. And by the way, it's not dependent on if they're married or not, because we had WIC when my son was born.
And you had to be married
I-
to get it? Jesus.
No. It's not dependent on that.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
It's not. It has nothing to do with that. It's just it's just there. You know, if you
Yeah.
meet the income
Yeah, I mean,
household
that's
income requirement.
That's a
that's-
good thing. I
yeah, super.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's what I'm saying. There's already
Yeah,
there's
WIC is
already a
there.
lot of support.
But there's,
for
I
women
think
and
there should be
children.
more because the cost of living has gone up.
I agree there should be more, but like, you know, there's already enough that it shouldn't be like life being too expensive shouldn't be a reason to not have a baby.
Mhm.
You had your
Yeah.
kid a long time ago. The cost has even grown since then. So
Yeah, but you know, I was making $9 an hour when I had my kid.
Jesus.
And
that's tough.
we were only income because my wife was sorry, she was undocumented at the time, so she was not working, so that was it.
Yeah, it's tough,
Gosh.
man. I mean, hats down to you, man. That's definitely something that's very
Yeah, but
admirable.
I mean, in a country like
It's
the
not
States, that
admirable
shouldn't
to
have,
have a baby, man.
that shouldn't.
That's just part of life, and life is struggle.
No.
I'm not special. I'm not even very good. I would consider myself a failure in most of the things that I care about, man. We're talking about like, this is the bare minimum.
Yeah. I mean, in a country like the United States with billionaires, why is this happening? I mean, it's very dysfunctional.
I mean, billionaires is almost like its own topic. I almost don't think they should exist. I strongly suspect you've broken
Yeah.
many, many laws to become a billionaire.
Yeah, we
I
had
mean,
that conversation.
People just shouldn't be that rich. I mean,
Like I just don't believe you could have done it through legal means.
right.
I just don't think so. With maybe
Well,
a couple of exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, it's getting pretty late, and I want
Yeah.
to go ahead and thank
It's
both y'all
getting
guys.
pretty
Have
early,
some
yeah.
good- yeah.
It's light in here.
I noticed that. It's pretty. Yeah, but
Dude, Edward, I was in Europe like a month ago, dude.
Oh yeah, where?
I thought about you while I was there. I went to, it was my wife's 20th anniversary, and we went to Paris and Monte Carlo and Italy, but we had connecting flights in Germany. So
Oh yeah, cool.
yeah,
Yeah, well,
whatever's doing right now.
yeah. If you come over sometime, we'll meet up. That's
Yeah.
cool.
well, hey,
Yeah.
I think this was a pretty good conversation. There was a couple
was,
times
yeah.
I had a blanks, but you know what? I came
Yeah.
back with some responses. If they're good, you guys be the judge for that, whoever's watching. But yeah, I mean, that's something that we definitely could continue if you guys are interested. But let's
Yeah,
just make sure we
I really
more
like this.
specific, because I think we were just like all over the place. I'm like, how am I going to label
Yeah,
all that stuff?
but I think but I think that's really good to have an open conversation. Those are the best
yeah,
kind.
for us.
And-
but for
yeah.
other people that are watching, they're probably going to lose interest. They're going to be like, man, what the heck are they talking about? But I could be wrong.
You can also label the parts of the video, right?
That's going to be,
where we-
yeah, that's going to be very difficult, but I'll do my best.
Yeah,
you
actually,
you might want to just like clip it in two and say part 1, part 2. This one went
I
crazy.
might,
Yeah, really.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I'll talk about how we were talking
But
about
what
labels.
I
I think that was a good one.
what I really like about this podcast is I can now just invite people. You know, if we disagree, I can say, you know, well, come on the podcast. It's you know,
Sure.
hopefully we can do this like once a
My
month.
philosophy is this platform is just as
Sometimes
much
there'll
as
be
yours
5,
as it is
sometimes there'll
mine.
be 3, and somebody will pop in and da da
Yeah.
da. But then you have to make sense. You have to be criticized, and
Yeah.
you know,
And that applies to you too, James. I mean, if you guys want to go ahead and do something on your own and use, hey, this is another perspective, you know, that's fine. I just want to normalize people talking about stuff, because that's what's going to help. I mean, it's from the ground
yeah,
up, and it starts with the people, and it starts with the leadership in the communities, the states, and realizing that we are all connected. And I don't think people do that. Like you guys said, it's a team. mentality. And I don't look at it a team, and I know you guys think I do because I say I'm
Yeah.
left, but it's just to identify my politics, not to say
Yeah.
I'm loyal, because I'm also a conservative too when it comes to the family dynamic of, you know, embracing religion. See, now I'm going to be able to clarify, you know, and, you know, visualizing having grandkids, thinking my kids are going to be straight, you know? So I do have that mentality of what most traditional conservatives would probably imagine their families being like too, being respectful to your elders, you know, but at the same time, I might have some more leniency for them questioning authority if they can make a good case. And I don't think that's a characteristic of a person that's more conservative than myself,
Yeah.
just based on my experience.
And I like these conversations because I mean I've learned a lot of things, you know, that we discussed about, but there's also things that, like, there's some things that I still don't understand, Emiliano, like with, you know, why you need labels and why you need to say Democrat and Republican and that
I
kind of thing.
told you to label.
Yeah,
like,
but I think like
demographics.
it's kind of a springboard for more focused conversation in, you know, online and that kind of thing,
Well, it's just hard to
which
like
is a good
make people
characteristic.
understand if you're just so abstract. You
Mhm.
guys will understand it. I mean, you're gonna have somebody that looks at James like, well, I'm thinking this, and there's like, ooh, what does he believe? You know, I mean, that's how
Yeah.
I was. If James was trying to explain his politics when I was first getting politically involved, I'm like, what? I don't know what that guy's thinking. You know, he's that way. And then who am I going to vote for to get
Yeah.
something that I want done? You know, you got to prioritize what you want, number one. And if you vote, if you want poverty to be solved, if you want healthcare to be solved, if you're going to look at it at a general election for president, I mean, I wouldn't vote Republican. That's just my
yeah,
advice.
but I just see that as kind of a warping of
It
that's what
is when
the
you think of
American
it if you think of it in that aspect.
and I feel we have to get out of that somehow. We
Well,
have to get
start at a
out of
local level. I've been using
that's a
that
good
as my
point, yeah.
answer this whole time, and you guys keep on criticizing me for that.
I think it's both of those things though. But
Mhm.
dude, we got to let each other go because
All
I
right.
feel like we could do this all day.
Yeah, we
That's
can.
right.
All right. Well, have a good
All
one,
right, guys.
And
Have a good
All
one.
right,
fun.
have
All
a good
right.
night.
See
Have a
you
good
around.
day.
Yeah, you
Hey,
too.
good morning. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Later.